And we're live? Are we live?
We're live.
We're live. I changed screens and it doesn't show. So, welcome to Transformation Tuesday. I'm Amanda Beth, intuitive healer and wellness coach, joined by my friend Andy Nam, a longevity expert, and he's a great mentor and peer for me and has been a support through my journey as he collaborates the collective chronic health collective and the panel of coaches that we are. I'm so excited today. I just can't even speak. Um, I just got back from the 24th annual Metaphysical Fair in, it's not annual, 24th Metaphysical Fair. They hold it 3 times a year in Nixa, Missouri. And my book releases today. So I'm a little
Lovely.
tired from the weekend's event. And I am so excited to be able to launch my book. And so, Andy, you've heard so much about this darn book.
It's quite amazing. I've been looking forward to your book too. And the funny thing is, as we're just starting, before we always chat a little bit before the show, and you mentioned a lot of people were asking, well, what the hell do you actually do? And before we get everyone to start buying your book, let's give them a little bit more layman's terms what you actually do, Amanda.
What I do. So that was the resounding question because I've been doing metaphysical shows now for the last 4 years as I grow this part of my business. And the question is how did you come into your gifts? How am I
Mhm.
on this side of the table that they are looking into, and why are my services different? But it was interesting. It's like, well, it's all in the book. It's all in the book. But to tell you a little bit more about it, I have been intuitive my whole life, but I never knew that's what you call it. And I
Mm.
didn't know until as a child, before I could ever read any words, I would see written language on paper, or my mom was notorious for leaving us notes on paper plates. We always had our to-do list was on a paper plate. I don't, I don't know why. They were paper plates or napkins. It wasn't that we didn't have paper, but that was the thing. But there was always a feeling in that. My stepmother would send me letters. I don't know who read the letters to me, but I always knew what they felt like. I felt the
Mhm.
energy, not necessarily what the words were, but what the letter felt like. And I thought that's how everyone did it. And in my family, intuition is not anything that we really talked about, but there are
Mhm.
times that you know things that you don't have any reason to know.
Correct.
And if I was ever asked, how do you know this? It's like, they told me. They
Yeah.
being the universe,
Yeah. Yeah.
source,
Who told
God,
you? Right.
however that is channeled, but I didn't have the word of channeling. I didn't have the words of intuition. And this continued. And
Mhm.
when I was in EMT, I used to wake up in what I thought were nightmares at first of
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, I'm in a car wreck. This is horrible.
Correct.
And then as I saw the pattern, I learned to not be in the car wreck, but to be the observer. And what it was showing me is the accident that I was about to be dispatched to.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so I knew how many victims were in the crash. I knew what their injuries were. I knew what extrication equipment I needed to take off the rescue truck. I knew those things ahead of time. And it wasn't
Right.
always the same day, but it was like the next wreck that I was called out to, I knew how to respond.
Hmm.
Um, and so going through college, that kind of, you get so focused that a lot of that goes to the wayside. My first husband's family wasn't, they didn't know about it. They didn't talk about it. They
Right.
held a lot of superstitions
About
that
it.
we
Yes.
were that we were responsible for. Um, but then coming back to Iowa and reconnecting with my family of origin, my aunt and I, she was a very gifted clairvoyant, and tarot was her connection.
Mhm.
And so we did the shows through the Bible Belt, through Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Kentucky, Ohio, and down through there. And she's doing readings, and we had a booth, we made stuff. And so I started doing readings as well, remembering as a child,
Mhm.
always reading the handwriting. And with a degree in psychology, I could call it psychographology.
Good. I
So
love
we were
that.
traveling on weekends doing all the fairs, and then I got remarried, had a bonus daughter, had my own child. So going to fairs on the weekends just wasn't a thing to do. And then
Mhm.
life continued, and as I look back at all my careers, now knowing what I know, when I would talk to people in the graphic design business, they would tell me what it was they wanted, and I could see it. It was growing in
Mhm.
my brain as they would tell me about it. I was like, okay, you need to leave for a little bit so I can put it into the computer and create it so I can spit it back out to you and I know
Correct.
what you're doing and what you're needing. Same thing with when I worked in human services. There were so many solutions that I had for working with those families that were in crisis, needing to learn new skills to figure out how to do those things. A lot of the things that we did were not things that you learned from a textbook, but it was
Mhm.
information that I received to
Correct.
implement to be able to help those families to be successful. And then going through kind of my own little meltdown in life and restructuring things, stumbling into going through that healing process myself,
Mhm.
and then going, oh, yeah, this is what it is, and realizing how much of what I've done has been intuitive. The
Correct.
promoter from this last show called me a intuitive medium. And it's
Mhm.
like, well,
Mhm.
yeah, so there's different things, but in doing the formal education, when I invested in the coursework and doing the things that I've done and coaching and mentoring with
Mhm.
other individuals in the healing communities, it's allowed me to tap in and do what I do on demand,
I
not
love
just
that.
when the moon's in the right phase or anything. So,
Right.
and so that's, I tell about all of those adventures and how to really develop some of those skills so that you're ready for the bigger things that your life is meant to be.
That's amazing, and as I'm listening to your story, because each time I talk to you, we've been friends for a long time, but each time talking to you, we're like peeling back the onion, and I'm learning a little bit more about you. Um, one of the questions I was going to ask you, and then you answered it, is like usually intuition, these gifts run in the family, in the
Mhm.
family somehow. It may not be your mom and dad, but it sounds like your aunt have the gift and then came to you. My question is, does your children have this gift?
Oh yeah. And my mom being in healthcare, and my mom was in EMS as well, and
Hmm.
she would have horrible hip pain, and then she would get called out to the ambulance call of the lady who had fallen and broken her hip. Um,
Wow.
as
Okay.
a medical practitioner, she'll get a horrible excruciating headache, and she doesn't get
Mhm.
headaches. And she's like, "Would
Correct.
that patient please come in so that I can address their headache and it can go away?" So yeah, it's very much so. And yes, my daughter is very gifted and talented.
Hmm.
She's also very busy in college right now, so I don't think that she utilizes her gifts so
Correct.
much. My other daughter, I don't think that there's necessarily anyone in the family who discusses their
Hmm.
gifts, but she's very intuitive. It's sensitive rocks are her thing. So she
Hmm.
feels the energetics from rocks. And there's different rocks. I have a few rocks that I would prefer not to touch, but
Hmm.
she's like, "Whoa, they're vibrating, so
Correct.
she's more sensitive to those. And I think that that's one of the things that a lot of people need to really look at what they're doing, perceiving.
Hmm.
I believe everyone is intuitive. It's one of the things that society kind of poo-poos, you
Correct.
know. I know when the youngest she would learn something new, and then she would go to school, and it was so cool the day that she came home. It was during some of their standardized testing, and she had to take
Hmm.
this test, and she was like, I went to the bathroom and I did a cleanse, and at the time we were, cleansing the third eye and the throat chakra.
Yeah.
And so she went to the bathroom and she did a cleanse, and then
Yeah.
she went and took her test. And it's
Yeah.
like, wow, if I had those designated skills to recognize when I was feeling stressed or whatever,
Hmm.
that I could do those simple things. We're
Correct.
not talking about dragging cauldrons to school or anything, but the idea that she needed to go to the bathroom to have the privacy to do that, I think
Hmm.
is, telltale of how it's poo-pooed, to do that.
Well, I think that's amazing because what you mentioned there is you mentioned that everyone probably has some form of disability. And the first thing that came to my mind is a lot of people talk about deja vu, right? They don't know what it is. Oh, I think I saw that. And, of course, they make it such a big thing in movies and stuff like that. But I think it's real. A lot of people do get deja vu, right? But they
Mhm.
don't know what it actually is. So when you're working with people, do you channel into their intuition, or how does that all work? Or like.
So one of the first things I do is I tap into your energetic field so that I'm
Okay.
seeing things through you.
Hmm.
And then that information is channeled to me.
Hmm.
Once, it's kind of like once you tune into an FM radio station, you can hear what's on that radio
Correct.
station. And
Yes.
you tune to a different radio station, you hear a different content. So
Yes.
that's way oversimplification, but
Yes.
it's better understandable. And by at the shows, people are sitting there one on one with me, and
Hmm.
it makes more sense to people to do them in presence, one on one, directly present. But the reality is what I do is energetic work. And
Hmm.
so that energetic work is available through um, virtually, through
Correct.
Zooms, through phone calls. And if you think about it, all the times when you think about somebody, they're like, "Oh man, I need to call them. I need to," but you think it's like, "Oh, it's too early in the morning, or
Hmm.
it's dinner time, it's too late." And next thing you know, they're calling you.
Correct.
You got on their brainwave. You were thinking
Hmm.
about them, and you created that energetic exchange. And so when you hone in and you develop those, I love Dr. David Hawkins' work, and a lot of his work is based off of Carl Jung, um, and looking at how things come together. And Dr. David Hawkins talks about, he too believes that we are all intuitive, but when we aren't raised in that, when we don't develop those skills, it's harder to tap in. But when you're with someone else who is intuitive, it
Hmm.
makes it easier to do that.
I love
He
that.
talks about, for him, from his own perspective, that he
Hmm.
is able to be more intuitive when he's surrounded by intuitive people.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
So I think that's really interesting. And so one of the things I do a lot with my clients is teaching them, how do they perceive.
Hmm.
We talk about and receiving those messages. Source doesn't really talk in human language. A
Hmm.
lot of times it's symbols, it's colors, it's, and there's the, I don't know if we call it a superstition, when you see cardinals, that's your loved ones visiting,
Hmm.
those type of things. But when you hear bits and pieces of a song, it's like you hear it every time you get in the car, the radio, the first song on is part of that song. When you hear it all the time in a lot of different situations.
Correct.
That can be your intuition going, there's something about this song that pertains to your life you need to listen to.
Okay.
When you see those repeating numbers, we call
Correct.
them angel numbers. When you see 333 everywhere, you see,
Correct.
you know, for me, the number I see a lot is 11. So, and it's usually with times 11, 11, 1, 11, 7,
Hmm.
11, 9, 11. It's 11 minutes after the hour that I see a lot. And it's like,
Hmm.
oh, or, double numbers are a big thing, 33 after
Correct.
the hour. And so those just being, for me, that's an indication that I'm in my divine timing.
Mm.
I happen to look at my clock and it's 9:11. It's like, okay, this is a time for something.
I love that. So when you're working with people, not only are you unlocking what their intuition, because like you said, a lot of people don't really understand the signals they're getting because it's not spoken in regular English language or whatever language you want to call it. So you're
Yeah.
helping them decipher the messages a little bit. So do they, over time working with you, would they start recognizing this language, like what their intuition is telling them?
hmm I have one client I've worked with several times, and he will come to me as like, okay, this happened, and this is what I felt, but I don't know how to put it into perspective.
Mm.
And one of the first things that we worked with, because when you take people into a guided meditation, you say, close your eyes, and now I
Hmm.
want you to visualize, and they're like, my eyes are closed, I can't see anything.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so learning how to imagine if you could see it, what does it look like? What
Correct.
does it feel like? Because in as we perceive things, there's the clair senses, clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentient, clair, which is all the five senses plus
Hmm.
feeling plus, some people taste things.
Correct. Correct.
They'll look at something and they go, "Oh, that tastes gritty."
Hmm.
Um, you know, and so just paying attention, which one of your senses is being activated
I love
and
that.
how does
Yeah.
it apply to right now? I
Hmm.
remember being when I was in my theta classes, and there was one gal, and she was just all but distraught that she didn't hear things.
Hmm.
It's like, well, if we're all being honest, I don't always hear things. Sometimes it's a combination, or I
Hmm.
feel it,
Right.
especially when I'm looking at the heart chakra, I feel it in my chest. I can feel those sensations of other people as I do the work and know where I'm feeling it to know where they're experiencing it.
Hmm.
So that's a whole thing. But there's a lot of yeah, so there's a lot of learning how to tune in.
I love that. I love that.
And of course,
So
I talk about that in the book.
that's what I was gonna say. You just see, you just read what I was gonna say. So this is all about the book. So what can we expect inside your book? Because this book's been a long time coming,
It has
right?
been.
You
It has
put
been.
in a lot of heart and soul in this book. So what can we expect is in the book? Is this book? Is this like a light reading? Is this something that's gonna bring us on a journey? Like, what's this book all about?
Oh, ooh, ooh, ooh. I believe that this book, I share my journey
Hmm.
and going back to the childhood experiences with that
Hmm.
handwriting and not understanding that not everybody else did it,
Hmm.
and there's still things in the last few years. So when I crochet, I love variegated yarn, but I also know in my brain, I build 3D models of things. As
Hmm.
you're talking to me, as you tell me a story, I build it in a 3D model. Part of
Right.
that is the dyslexia. That's how dyslexic brains work. We build
Hmm.
things. We build the model. We see it.
Right.
Um, but taking you along my journey, and then breaking it down into, kind of the Amanda version of spirituality, um,
Okay. Hmm.
and just allowing, I'm hoping that everyone is able to find that bit in themselves that helps explain things and helps them move forward in that. Each
Hmm.
chapter's got a journal prompt at the end, and I'm taking it a step further because there will be a reflection guide that comes out within the next month that will go
Nice.
along with the book. But I want you to be able to take the pieces of the book that work for you, the
Hmm.
things that you really, really resonate with, and run with it. And the pieces that don't really fit for you, leave them. Somebody else will need them.
I
And
love
that's way
that.
this reflection guide there. I'm structuring it to be 5 or 6 different activities that
Hmm.
relate back to the book, but I don't expect anyone to do every single one of them. It could be a light read. You could read through it, but to be able to relate to it and bring those lessons into your life, I think you should read it a chapter at a time.
Got
So,
it. Got it.
pace it. This is my second book. The first book is more the whole generalized story,
Hmm.
and the two books stand completely separately. Of course, I'd love you to buy the first book if you haven't already got it, and we're going to be putting that on a price change. But The book Stepping into Power released today, and it is $15. So that's going to be the introductory rate coming out. So we can get that in everybody's hands so they can,
So what does
you
the
know.
book look like, and how do we get it?
So Stepping into Power, this is the cover. Um, and it is there will be a direct link. Currently, it is on Amazon,
Hmm.
and there will be a direct link that is amandabethhealing.com/SIP Amazon.
Okay.
That will take
Okay.
you directly to the Amazon link so you can pick up your copy today for $15.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. So
So
the reflection guide, how's that going to work? Because that's not ready yet, or is that going to be sent out separately after, or how's that
that'll
work?
be that'll be an additional purchase. And the
Okay.
cool thing with that, and part of the delay in releasing that is there's going to be a community to go along with that.
I
So
love that.
as you begin your awakening or figure out where you are in your path and how the book applies to you, there'll be a community that you can exchange ideas and the
Mhm.
ahas of things
Correct.
that go along. And then, of course, there'll be a paid version of that community where you can work directly with me through some of those activities as well. So we're finalizing how that community comes together fully, and I want to make sure that it's working as
Correct.
it is.
Correct. Correct. That's
But
exciting. I love it.
yeah, but to go ahead and read the book and then and put those practices into place in your daily living, then going
Hmm.
back and doing the workbook, I think it's just going to be just a really nice collaboration to bring your stuff into it. Um, I know one of my beta readers, when she read through the book, and she's not familiar with the spiritual healing work that I
Hmm.
do, so it was
Correct.
really awesome to have her input. And she did the journal activities as well, and just really um, she gave me a lot of ideas on where to expand in the book and some
Hmm.
things that I kind of left more, there were more things that I left out. She's like, well, I hope you tell more about this. And so she did an amazing job helping me to bring this book so that if you are new to the spiritual healing process, it's going to be there. Everything you need, I think, is going to be there. And if you are on your journey and you've got a lot of healing under your belt, I think you're also going to resonate with a lot of the books. So I think this covers, a lot of what everyone needs. It's going to meet a large area of the population. And looking at, coming out of that snake energy, going into the fire
Hmm.
horse energy, coming out of the Mercury retrograde,
Correct.
just having that spring equinox and the new moon. We've all been through a lot this year. It's been a lot.
Hmm.
I
Yes.
was hoping this book was going to be ready for, the Thanksgiving rush. And it's like, this isn't necessarily a gift book. This isn't something
Hmm.
you're going to give someone else. You're going to buy this book for yourself.
Correct.
So we've had a few things that delayed the book, but I think that it's really ready, and this is an awesome day to release it.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome. Right. I'm gonna hop on and grab my copy after our call. Right. So
Awesome, awesome.
for all the people that reads the book, is that gonna help them get a better understanding of themselves where they can reach you to go to that next step?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Of course, there's the call to action, how to get a hold of me in the back of the
Mhm.
book. Um, you know, Proudly putting that there. But just and finding, I've done a whole section in there about finding your right coach, your right mentor, your right healer. If it's not me, find someone. Don't think you have to do this work alone.
Mhm.
And that's the important thing. You don't have to do any of this alone. It can be daunting. And a lot of
Mhm.
people have an amazing awakening process. It is not all dark night of the soul. It's not all blowing yourself up spiritually. It's not all loom and gloom.
Mhm.
But when you do that awakening, that changing in your circles and finding your new support group, the people that can support you through this process. That's what can be lonely. And that was this last weekend. It was a 3-day show. And so many people are in that awakening process. And I think right
Right.
now we have a lot of people who are awakening, who are
Mhm.
realizing there is so much more to this human experience that we're having right now. Um,
Mhm.
and so they're looking for that guidance. Um,
I love that. I love that.
yeah. Yeah.
So, with the book coming out and everything, with all the energy that is spiraling around, are we gonna have a theta healing today?
We are going to have that theta healing, and I think that the healing I'm being called about is removing that obligation to stay stagnant, to remove the obligation, to remove what prevents us there, and to have the discernment. This
Hmm.
weekend, that seemed to be a big word that I did was discernment, to know what you can let go of and what you can still hang on to, because there's still a lot of letting go, a lot of that purging, either sorting things out physically out of your basement or those beliefs that just no longer serve you. So having that discernment to be able to let go and remove that obligation to carry the weight of all this stuff. And so much of it is ancestral. We've come
Mm,
into we're carrying it because everyone before me did it that way. Well, like,
correct.
and my new analogy for that one is it's like moving into an apartment that someone didn't clean their stuff out.
Hmm.
We came into this human existence and we have all of our ancestors' stuff here. That was theirs to take care of. It's not ours. And so having that discernment to be able to let go of those things that just don't really serve you. So if
I
we'd like
love
that
that.
work and the forgiveness that goes with that, just say yes out loud.
Yes,
Oh, that's deep. Got a big yawn in there. That's what I tend to do when the work is really big. So yeah, and I drew an angel for today. I was shuffling my deck and I set it down because I took a phone call. And as I came back to my deck, this was the angel that was up. And I think that she's very appropriate today. The angel of healing. I am the channel for the healing energies of the universe. The real source of healing is the inner sun that radiates through our bodies with its qualities of love and synthesis, uplifting our vibrations and cleansing the environment around us. True healing is to know how we are one with God. So
wow.
I think that that's, and as you raise your vibration, the next person's vibrations are it's a ripple effect. And I think that with everything we have going on in the world, it is so important to be clear on what your path is
Hmm.
and to stick with that and raising your vibrations to support the vibrations of everybody else. And if we all did that, we just spend a few minutes every day being positive, that we're going to help stabilize things. um,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, that's what I think it is.
I love
So
that. I love that.
So yeah. So I'm Amanda Beth with Amanda Beth Healing. I come to you live every Tuesday at 11:30 Central Time here on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, all of the wonderful platforms. And if you miss us, you can always catch up with me on YouTube. Uh, Andy, you have the Chronic Health Collective, and you and Andy are you and Minna are coming up tonight. Tell us about that.
Yes. So tonight, on our show, we're as a longevity coach, everyone's always asking us what the hell is longevity, and for us, it's really about aging not just gracefully, but having not only your mind, your body, your soul, everything aging as just as a number, right? And in these last 4 or 5 years, everything is just starting to come together for me and Minna, and we're gonna talk about that. How we should be, I guess, tending our body's terrain, because like a lot of people just think it's just about exercise and it's about food, but there's so much more going on, right? And of course, we don't talk about spirituality, but that's part of their terrain too. That's why we have you guys as part of the collective. But we're gonna dive in on on what we're specialized in. Min is a expert on skin health, so we're gonna dive a little bit on skin health, why she designed her own line, and I'm gonna dive in a little bit about frequency work, a little bit about energy inside how our body works. I'm not going to give you energy through energy work, but how we can charge the energy inside our bodies, right? And so we're just basically everything's coming full circle of what we've been sharing with people. Now we're sharing the technologies and the products along with it.
Awesome. Awesome. 'Cause you guys have we all have so much to give. And I guess that's kind of coming back to everyone has something to contribute. And some days it's easier to contribute to other days, and some days, it's that smile. It's
Hmm.
that if you can't be any more positive than that, at least smile today. Go
I
enjoy
love
the
that.
fresh air and be the best version of you can today. Because
Yes.
tomorrow's another day, and every day is a gift. It's like Christmas. Wake up and be grateful.
Perfect. I thank you for today. I'm looking forward to getting your book. Everyone out there, make sure. What was the link for the book in Amazon again, Amanda?
So that's going to be amandabethhealing.com/SIP Amazon.
Perfect. Everyone go out there and
Mhm.
grab the book, and we'll see you all next week.
All right. Bye. She looks like she has it all together, but inside, she's exhausted, disconnected, and asking, is this really it? I'm Amanda Beth. I help visionary women shift from burnout to embodiment, from survival mode to soulful success. Through intuitive healing and aligned strategy, I guide them back to their power so they can lead with clarity, confidence, and calm.
I was floored at how effective and powerful and insightful everything was in this journey. She is amazing, and you should absolutely do it.
This isn't about pushing harder. This is about rising with purpose, prosperity, and peace.